You're listening to Vet Synapse, a podcast connecting the world of research, innovation, and practical help to the veterinary profession. I'm your host, Dr. Philip Judge from Vet Education. Let's get connected with Vet Synapse. Hi everyone, it's Philip here from Vet Education. Welcome to another episode of Vet Synapse. We're thrilled today to be joined by Dr. Nicky Sluczanowski from Pet Good. Nicky is an Australian veterinarian who graduated from Murdoch University in 2007. She's now the lead veterinarian at a pet food company called Pet Good, and they produce insect-based pet food, something that here in Australia we don't know an awful lot about. And so we've invited Dr. Nicky here to tell us a little bit about insect-based pet food. Nicky, welcome to this podcast, this episode of Vet Synapse. I'm wondering if you could just tell us a little bit about your role within the company of Pet Good and a little bit about what you do, and then we'll dive into talking a bit about insect-based pet food.
Thank you so much, Phil, for having me here today to chat with Vet Education about all things insect-based pet food. Yes, and my roles within the company, which is Pet Good, are product development. So I work with our manufacturing partners as well as our suppliers of raw materials and our veterinary groups as well to drive product development for the company. I'm also involved in technical support. So this is for our customer base as well as retailers, our veterinary partner groups, as mentioned, and other groups requiring more information about our products and insect-based pet food in general. And I'm also driving the research and development, or R&D, arm of the company, which I can probably expand on a little bit more in our chat, but we are a very research-driven company, and so this area falls under my action as well. So this is essentially my roles within the company.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. Let's get into talking about this insect-based pet food. I have to ask, why insects? What's so great about insects, and why are we wanting to put it in our pet food?
Yeah, great question. And usually the opener in these types of discussions. And essentially, I think it really comes down to, well, what are insects in a nutritional form? What are they replacing? And it is our traditional protein sources. And if we have a look at data and forecasting by groups such as the United Nations, etc., the global population is really expected to reach around 10 billion people by approximately 2050. And at the same time as this, we are seeing our populations of pets or companion animals, such as dogs and cats, also increasing in many geographical areas of the world. So consequently, there is this increasing demand for global food security, and in particular protein security as well. We are also identifying that there is a little bit of competition between human populations and companion animal populations in protein sources, and this is due to a little bit of a trend in the humanization of pet foods. Pet foods did used to rely, very heavily on byproducts from abattoir systems, but with the humanization of pet food as a trend, we are seeing increased demand for more premium cuts of meat, etc., to be diverted to the pet food arena. So all of these factors combined really do mean that alternative protein sources to the common protein sources that we're familiar with today do need to be looked at very seriously and secured for future food security. So this is where insects really come in terms of their role that they can play, not only in pet nutrition but also human nutrition as well.
I did a bit of reading prior to our podcast today, just on the environmental cost of producing things like chicken and lamb and beef for consumption in terms of carbon emissions, water consumption, those sorts of things, versus the environmental cost to producing protein from insects. Can you shed a little bit of light on that? Because I think that's really important given the things that you mentioned about the global population, competition for protein sources and so on.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, as I think we're all somewhat familiar with some of the environmental costs of traditional protein sources, and the classic example would be the hoof stock and their subsequent CO2 emissions. And this is an area that we're all quite familiar with. And insects certainly have far less of an impact in regards to greenhouse gas emissions from their primary production when you compare them to more traditional protein species such as the hoofstocks and also poultry as well. But there are a number of sustainability benefits that insects do have as a source of feed. Firstly, and a super interesting one is the actual feed substrate or food input that they can use. And this, I am really speaking specifically here about the insect species that Pet Good, our company, uses in our complete and balanced diets for dogs and cats. And that is, I'll introduce that species now. It is the black soldier fly, and it is the larvae of this species that is actually used as the source of protein. And the larvae of the black soldier fly are able to feed on organic byproducts that are plant-based from the human food production system. So this is a really exciting display of upcycling, essentially, of what is an organic, human-grade, plant-based byproduct, which are eaten by the larvae of the black soldier fly and converted into a really nutritious source of both protein and fat. So this is quite unique to a protein producing species, in that it can upcycle what is essentially was going to be either a waste or compost type of endpoint. Another really interesting, I guess, difference between insect primary production and traditional protein species primary production is the land usage. And yes, they're a lot smaller, but commercial insect producers are able to use vertical integration systems. And so what that means is there are these 40 to 50 story little apartment blocks within an insect production system, where various stages of the insect life cycle in their rearing are able to be cared for and looked after. And so this really increases in the efficiency of the land usage required for this protein species in comparison to our grazing hoofstock traditional protein species. And the water inputs as well are far fewer when rearing insects in comparison to traditional protein species. So it is certainly, from a number of different aspects, a highly sustainable and resource efficient way to produce a source of nutrition.
Excellent. That sounds really good. You mentioned the black soldier fly larvae. Obviously, that's one of a number of insect species that have been used or can be used to feed animals. What's special about the black soldier fly larvae, further to what you've already just mentioned?
Yeah, absolutely. And yes, I guess to mention, there are, I think it's over 2,000 different edible insect species globally, and of all of those, the three that have been looked at in a most intensively from a commercial and research point of view are the yellow mealworm, the cricket, and then the black soldier fly. And it is the black soldier fly that and the larvae of this species that Pet Good have chosen to work with. Because certainly in terms of the European insect producers, this species has the greatest level of technical expertise in terms of commercial production and also research backing as well. It does have a very impressive amino acid profile, as well as also a very, very rich source of various fatty acids, minerals and vitamins as well. But it's the species that we've chosen to work with because the leading insect farms are working with it.
Excellent. Now, you mentioned the nutrient profile. Can you tell us just a little bit about how the nutrient profile of the protein from the black soldier fly larvae kind of measures up against nutritional requirements or protein requirements and the amino acid profile in dogs to begin with?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So what we do get essentially out of a black soldier fly commercial insect facility, the end product that is used in the pet food space is a protein meal, or that's most commonly used is a protein meal. And this is the larvae that have been processed, dried to a degree. There is a degree of rendering to take out the fat, to create a more stable product. And then this is what is used by the pet food manufacturers in extruded pet food production. And so this meal from the insects is able to be used in place of a more traditional poultry meal or beef meal, etc., as the main source of protein in a commercial pet food. So certainly the manufacturer that we work with in Europe has a number of years of experience in working with black soldier fly protein meal, and they are able to use it in our commercial products in a balanced way, and it is able to provide the amino acids that are essential for the target species at the appropriate levels as well. So it's a really complete protein source, and it's very, very easy to work with as well from the manufacturer's point of view.
So the American Association of Feed Control Officials, or AFCO, has approved black soldier fly larvae protein as being a complete protein source for dogs. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct, and that's quite a process to have gone through. And I know that the Australian veterinary community is very familiar with AFCO, because certainly in terms of the Australian pet food industry, we do follow AFCO quite closely. So yes, there is a period. Essentially what happens with an AFCO approval is their ingredient definition committee will give a tentative approval for any new ingredient that they are legalizing use of as a pet food inclusion. So they will give a 12-month period of a tentative definition. And that has occurred certainly for black soldier fly protein for dogs. And then after that 12-month period of it being allowed to be used, if there are no other concerns or comments that have come up, it then gets an official ingredient status. So that is what has occurred for black soldier fly larvae for dogs via AFCO, which is I think a very key, a very, very important piece of information to note, because it certainly is a stringent process that has been gone through to achieve that.
Excellent. Whereabouts is the AFCO approval process at the moment for approving the protein source for cats?
Yeah, absolutely. So that is being looked at, and I'm certainly I'm quietly confident that that the ingredient definition committee would be giving that a tentative approval, and then following the due diligence through to official status at some point in the near future. So I guess all I can say at this point is I know it's being looked at for cats. In Europe, in terms of the regulations in Europe where pet good is currently retailing, we do see that the European Commission gave approval for insects to be used in companion animal feed in 2016. So certainly since that time there have been insect-based pet foods for both dogs and cats available in Europe.
That's really exciting news for not only the dogs, but also the cats in the future, certainly with AFCO approval there. So, look, we've spoken a little bit about the benefits to feeding insect-based pet foods from an environmental perspective. The quality of the protein sounds really good. What about for the patient? Are there any benefits to, when I say the patient, it's the veterinarian in me coming out. What about to our dogs and cats that we are feeding this to? Are there any potential benefits to feeding insect-based protein for dogs and cats?
Absolutely, and I can probably just touch a little bit on digestibility here as well, because it's, I don't have to explain this to the veterinary community, but it's all very well that the building blocks are there in a feed, but it does need to be digestible as well, and that's a question that comes up a lot. And it is certainly being looked at in the academic community, and there is a strong body of evidence of groups that have examined the digestibility of black soldier fly protein meal in dogs, and a smaller but growing body of evidence for the same in cats as well. And certainly we're seeing some really impressive digestibility numbers. In vitro setting, we're seeing protein digestibility to be between 90 to 92%. And in vivo settings, we're seeing values that are around the 89 to 90% in terms of dogs' ability to digest both the protein and fat in a black soldier fly based diet. So these are some pretty comfortable values. In terms of potential other health benefits besides this just being a very nutritious source of protein, yes, it is also a novel protein, and it's novel, I guess, in all senses of the word, in that not that many people in the Australian veterinary community have heard of insect-based products, but it is also novel to the pets that are eating them. And we are hearing and receiving some great feedback from both our customer base, but also our veterinary partner groups in Europe about animals that have struggled with various types of food responsive enteropathies or cutaneous adverse food reactions, or even suspected dietary intolerances, and these animals clinically improving when being on an insect-based pet food, such as Pet Good, or other diets as well. We've had a number of cases of onychodystrophy patients that have improved on our diets, and certainly many happy pet parents, and also pleasantly surprised veterinarians alike. So I think that the novel protein factor of our diets is really quite unique. We are not currently prescription-based diets, so we do classify ourselves as maintenance diets that are applicable for all pets, but may have that extra functionality for pets that have either suspected or diagnosed food sensitivities or enteropathies.
Yeah, that's excellent. I think in the literature, there's some other things that have come up with regards to potential benefits regarding cognitive function as well, and antimicrobial, antioxidant features. Are you able to shed a little bit more light on some of those?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is an area that's, I think, is really exciting, and I guess it's an emerging area of research. And some of this is specifically in regards to the insect fat, which is starting to be used in insect-based pet foods, and it is an incredible source of fat, nutritionally and also potentially functionally as well. So the first of these is these cognitive benefits. Essentially, the insect fat and the black soldier fly larvae fat contains really high levels of a particular medium chain triglyceride called lauric acid. And medium chain triglycerides have been looked at quite extensively in both the human literature and also veterinary literature as well, in terms of improving various cognitive pathologies. In humans, conditions such as Alzheimer's, dementia, epilepsy, schizophrenia, All of these types of conditions have had medium chain triglyceride as a nutritional supplement and potential benefits of this be examined. And also in dogs as well. One group in particular have looked at the impact of a medium chain triglyceride dietary supplement in dogs with idiopathic epilepsy. And certainly it was quite strongly demonstrated that this supplementation reduced the frequency of seizures in the test group compared to the control, and also improved or reduced the seizure length as well. Another group looked at the impact of medium chain triglyceride as a supplement for senior dogs or aged dogs. And so there was a variety of cognitive ability tests that were performed on both the test and the control groups, and then there was a period of dietary supplement and with medium chain triglycerides for the test group. And then the barrage of cognitive ability tests were repeated, and certainly it was there was a significant improvement in cognitive ability for the test group, showing that the medium chain triglyceride supplementation really did assist in this group of senior dogs. So current sources of medium chain triglycerides really are palm oil and coconut fat as well, and there can be some I think a lot of listeners would be familiar with some of the environmental concerns around sources of those particular plant sources of this fat. So the way I see it is that insect fat can be a very strong source of this medium chain triglyceride, which could be very beneficial in certain groups of dogs.
Absolutely, that's fantastic. Did you want to shed some more light just on this about the antimicrobial antioxidant side of things?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. So again, antimicrobial activity. Many groups around the world are looking very closely at insect species as we're seeing increases in antimicrobial resistance and multi-drug resistant pathogens. So there is, of course, the search is on for new antimicrobial products, and insects, due to their, many insects have this life cycle sort of stage of living and thriving in dead and decaying matter. We've all seen the Australian blowfly and what they lay their eggs in. So as a result of this, insects have really quite unique and highly developed immune systems, and it is this factor that research groups around the world are really trying to harness in terms of finding new antimicrobial products. So black soldier fly larvae have been studied extensively, and there are two, I guess, main arms that are being looked at in this species. There is, again, the lauric acid, that medium chain triglyceride that I mentioned, that has strong and demonstrated antimicrobial properties, and it is also antimicrobial peptides within this species as well. So there are those two different components of the black soldier fly larvae extracts that can be harnessed in terms of antimicrobial activity. And it's really quite incredible. There has been very, very well demonstrated activity of this insect against all sorts of pathogenic bacteria, including Staphylococcus, E. coli, Pseudomonas, Clostridiums, etc. And this is being looked at very seriously in terms of human health as well, with a number of antimicrobial peptides being hallmarked for potential antimicrobial products in the human health arena.
Wow, what a fascinating little insect we are.
Indeed, indeed.
Right. Look, thank you so much for sharing all of that information. It's really fascinating, very, very exciting potentially for our dogs and cats moving forward, and in the bargain, potentially good for the planet as well, in terms of using less of the world's resources to produce food for an ever expanding number of domestic pets, certainly through the pandemic. I think the statistics range from country to country, but pet ownership has increased anywhere between 8 and 30% in most countries in the world. This novel source of protein that has less of an impact on our environment, I think, is an enormous potential benefit moving forward. I wonder if you can share with us, Nicky, just what's in store, what's next for insect-based food, especially where we are located in Australia, but Australia, New Zealand, and other. I know you've mentioned that pet good and some other insect-based foods are available currently in Europe, but what about this part of the world? What's next?
Yes, absolutely, and yes, there are a growing number of brands that are offering insect-based pet food globally. I think we're up to about 48 different brands, and some of these are dedicated insect-based pet food brands such as Pet Good, but also there are a number of brands out there who have a complete portfolio of more traditional protein source products and also have an insect offering as well. So it's really exciting to see this this growing arena. In terms of Australia, yes, it is a little bit more of a, I guess we're not quite at the level in terms of availability of these types of products here on the market. It is certainly a relatively new concept to the Australian market here, but that is an area that Pet Good is really hoping to assist with educating the Australian market in terms of the veterinary community, but also the pet parent community as well, on the wonderful benefits, health benefits for pets of insect-based pet food, and also planet benefits in terms of sustainability. So Pet Good will be looking at launching an insect-based dental product later this year, which we are really excited about. This will be a dental stick for dogs that is manufactured in Australia and showcasing Australian black soldier fly protein. So this is the product that we've selected to introduce the Australian market to this new world of insect-based pet products.
Awesome. And that's scheduled, you mentioned, for later on this year. Any sort of an ETA on that? Is it sort of winter, spring, or summer?
Yeah, we do anticipate that this will be available spring, Southern Hemisphere spring, that is. So certainly we will be having a product launch much closer to the time. And of course, people can reach out to myself via the Pet Good website at any point with any questions they may have regarding this this product or anything related to insect-based pet food.
That's excellent. And I think obviously after this introduction of this dental treat, which I just think is a fantastic idea in terms of getting people accustomed to feeding the food, obviously Pet Good has a range of full and complete nutrition for dogs and also cats as well, that's sort of slated for release later on as things get approved and as the interest in the market picks up. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. So we do have currently in our brand range, complete and balanced diets for adult dogs, puppies, adult cats and kittens. And we do hope to follow through on that type of product ranging here in Australia as well. So that will be in the near future. We do have some adult and puppy diets formulated up, and we have had some boutique batch runs of these diets in terms of in Australia. So these are unique Australian formulas manufactured in Australia using Australian insect protein. And we've done some internal palatability and digestibility trials with these and had some fantastic responses. In terms of when we officially launch these, that will be in the near future as we see the market develop here. Yes.
Thank you so much for your time today, Nicky. Dr. Sluczanowski has written a blog for us here at Vet Education. If you go to the Vet Education website, veteducation.com.au, and click on the blog, you will find a lot of really interesting information that sort of fleshes out a little bit about what we've discussed today on insect-based pet food. And at the bottom of that blog, for those of you who want to get right to the source of the information, that blog is entirely referenced, so you can actually look up all of the references there that have gone into that particular blog. So it's evidence-based, science-based, and I think we're in for an exciting time, I think, with this introduction of a novel protein source. And purely from an environmental perspective, I just think it's an absolutely fantastic thing, but it clearly has got potential significant health benefits for patients as well, for pets and cats and dogs going forward. So thank you so much for sharing all of your knowledge with us today.
Absolutely, Phil. Thanks so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
We've been talking with Dr. Nicky Sluczanowski from Pet Good about insect-based pet food, a really interesting and exciting development in the pet food arena, not only here in Australia, but around the world as well. It's been incredibly interesting to learn more about this. I hope you found this podcast interesting. Stay tuned for another episode of Vet Synapse here with Vet Education. Thank you and good afternoon. Thank you for listening to this episode of Vet Synapse. If you like this episode, please subscribe to the podcast and share it with your friends and colleagues. Make sure to visit our website, veteducation.com.au, for more great content and to experience the latest online race-approved veterinary continuing education.